Alrighty. What's up, people of the interwebs? Ace, Christopher Bass. What's up, fellas? Give me just a couple minutes, or just another minute or two here. I am doing something I don't normally do and posting the link to this live chat here on my Facebook groups real quick. Maybe. Guess I don't know if that was the right link to post or not. Hang tight here, folks. Paul Adamek, John Taylor, Ian Nunez, Music Therapy Laz, John Harris. What's up, dudes? How's everybody doing? How is everybody doing? I need, let's see, Twitter. How does this thing work? Nope, that's not what I want. Could just go Let's try that. Let's try that. Copy link. Try that. Duh. Okay. Alright, there's that. All right. Sorry about that, fellas. Oh, let's see. Where was I? For those of you that didn't know what I was doing, I don't normally do this, but I decided to post the link to the live stream here on my various Facebook pages, and because it'll automatically post to Twitter, but honestly, I'm rarely on Twitter, and I'm a lot more active on Facebook. So it just made sense to invite the folks where I am the most active. So that's what I was doing. Oh, let's see what we got. John Harris says, what's your take on Ibanez S-Series guitars? Depends on the era, to be honest. Depends on the era and the model. As far as as far as the series goes as a whole, the body style goes, it's a little small for my taste. And there's been some of them because it's such a thin piece of wood, and on most of those bodies, those things are and they're made to be small and lightweight and all that stuff. But there's some of those things I've never been able to get any decent tone out of them just because there's almost no body wood to resonate. You know, and they just, like I said, they just feel really, feel really lightweight to me. You know, not that does I have not hated every one that I've played, but you know, there's been a few of them that just weren't for me. So I mean, they're designed for a specific audience, but I like heavier, beefier guitars in most cases. So, Dave Escobar is here. What's up, Dave? I'm getting a late start today here, guys. I thought I was going to be doing this right around 1 o'clock like I always do, 1 o'clock Eastern time, that is. And I had promised a buddy of mine that I would, a good friend of mine, that I would help him get his boat out of the water today. And I thought we were doing that later this, like late afternoon, early evening. And apparently he needed me to go help him this morning. So, so I got up and went and helped him with that. We grabbed lunch and hung out, which was, we don't get to do that stuff very much these days. So, so it was a good time. Doing awesome, buying guitars and amps, says Dave Escobar. Nothing wrong with that, as long as you can afford it anyway. You know, probably not a bad idea to be buying guitars and amps if you can't afford it. I've bought a couple of amps lately and a couple of guitars, and a lot of companies are sending, not a lot, but a few companies are sending me pedals to demo. So I'm suddenly sitting on a pile of pedals that I didn't have before, and a few more of those on the way. I'm running out of space. It's probably about time I start thinking about selling some stuff. Ian Nunez has played guitars in the garage and drank beer last night. Well, the weather was nice yesterday. It was a hell of a lot nice, even nicer today. It was a great day we were kind of thinking, what the hell are we doing pulling the boat out of the water? We ought to be taking it out on the water. It was that nice out. But I wore shorts and flip-flops to be able to wade in and guide the damn thing onto the trailer, and I thought I was going to get hypothermia in my feet there for a minute. That water was cold. Wrench Head says, I'm thinking about getting a knucklehead tray head, as in the Rivera knucklehead tray. Awesome clean and gain channels. Yes, they are, and you are also correct. Those things aren't cheap. But they are really, really cool amps. Christopher Bass says, I just realized all my guitars are Strat shaped except for Les Paul. There's nothing wrong with that, man. If that's what you like, and that's what that's the body shape, body style that you gravitate towards. There's nothing wrong with that at all, man. I like the the wilder, crazier body shapes. You guys know I'm a big BC Rich nut, so I tend to go for a little bit more variety from time to time. But here lately, especially as I'm finding myself getting older, I'm playing Super Strats a lot more often than I used to. Not playing my Super Strats a lot more often than I'm playing my Warlocks. So, Deity Paranormal and F Sharp is here. What's up, dude? How's the weather up there in Boston these days? Crazy Cook 678 says, hi, Robert. Just want to let you know Cobra Kai was awesome. Cobra Kai is awesome. I'll say it again. If you love the movie The Karate Kid, like you're supposed to, and you haven't seen Cobra Kai on Netflix, that's your fault, because that show is awesome. And because we all love The Karate Kid, if you haven't, you need to go watch Cobra Kai. So I recommended it to a number of people, and they've all come back and told me that they loved it. And now all of a sudden they can't wait for season 3, which is supposed to hit Netflix in January. John Taylor says, I've been playing my reverse V through my new single rec combo. Pretty damn sweet. Don't point and laugh, please. Hey, if you like the reverse V, that's I've never made fun of anybody for liking that guitar. I just hate it. I think it's stupid looking, but but that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with somebody else liking it. God knows Samurai Guitars loves his. He's got one, and I think he's used to people giving him some shit about it from time to time. But he absolutely loves that guitar. Christopher Bass says, "Hey Robert, do you think 7-strings sound muddier than 6-strings? I have 2, and they just aren't bright enough playing power chords. Is the pickups or the nature of the 7s?" Yes, I do think that 7-strings sound muddier, and that great big heavy 7th string, the big low B that you got on there is probably a I don't know what it is. I'm guessing a 60, a 70 or something, but 70 gauge. Regardless, of a string that heavy is meant for a lot more tension than even a 25.5-inch scale will provide. That's why I went with a baritone instead, because I can think of very, very few instances when I'm going to need both a low B and a high E, at the same time, and a baritone being a longer scale, the longer scale itself will add more tension to that low B, and it just doesn't flub out like it does on a 7-string. So, and the other benefit to baritones is they're still 6 strings. So they, with the exception of the scale length, which did take a little bit of getting used to for me, but with the exception of the scale length, everything else about that guitar feels normal to me. So feels like it should. Nothing wrong with 7 strings. A lot of people love them, but anytime I'm interested in a guitar, as soon as I see it's a 7 string, that turns me off right away. I'm not big on 7 strings. 8 strings are even stupider. If you're getting into 8-string guitars, buy a bass, unless you're toes in a bozzy, which most of us are not. Paul Adamex has bought a pedal online for the first time and got it in 3 days. That's usually about my turnaround time when I order pedals online. Usually 2 to 3 business days. Depending on where it comes from, anyway. I'm fortunate to live in a city with, I think we've got 6 Amazon warehouse depots here. So we get a lot of stuff. We order something. It's usually, a lot of times it's here next day. If we order from Amazon. If I order from Guitar Center, that's usually a 2 to 3 business day ship time max. If it comes from their warehouse, anyway. Cool Guitar Gear's here. What's up, Brian? How are you? And thanks once again for the referral. I got a referral from. I got another. I think you and I already talked about this, but another company reached out to me and actually sent me a pedal this week to demo. So that one was courtesy of Cool Guitar Gear. So if you guys haven't subscribed to this channel, put your hand up there, Brian, so people know who you are. If you don't know who he is, look here in the chat. Look for Cool Guitar Gear. Here, I'll even show you. So now you guys see what I'm seeing. And right there where my mouse is, go subscribe to that channel right there. Where was I? Dave Escobar bought a used Epiphone Casino and a Fender Rumble 100. Nice. James Severance says, "Hey, Robert, up at my cabin in Utah. Just checking in. Doing well, sir. About you? Hope, if you're in Utah, I don't know what the weather's like out there in that part of the world, but hopefully it's good weather for you." I used to love the mountains, and I'm just not much of a mountain guy anymore, man. Anytime that I got vacation time or time to travel, man, I want to go to a beach. I want to go somewhere tropic with palm trees and salt water and golf courses and alligators and stuff like, like, well, like Cancun, where this t-shirt came from. Gargoyle 84 is here. Says, "What's up, Robert? I'm new to tube amps. I thought I'd ask you to see what set of tubes should I replace my Marshall DSL 40." Well, I guess the first question that, and I'm going to open up a can of worms here, but the first question I would ask is, why do you need to replace the tubes? If you're just looking to, you just want to update them with, a fresh new set of tubes, then I would, I generally go JJs on just about everything. And that amp's got, I think, 312AX7s and probably two. I don't know if that one's got EL30. I think it has EL34s in it, but I could be mistaken. That one may have EL84s. Regardless, that's what I would go with. There's this is the can of worms I was talking about. Glenn Fricker recently put up a video that debunked a lot of the tube rumors. And if you're looking for a new set of tubes to give you that magical tone, it doesn't exist. It really doesn't. New speakers, new pickups in your guitars, tweaking, different settings on the amp and, pedals and EQs and all that kind of stuff are going to give you far, far, far more, more changes in your tone than a new set of tubes ever will. That's just the reality of it. But, if you're looking for something reliable and affordable, then I'd recommend JJ's. So, a lot of people like groove tubes. I don't really care for groove tubes too much, just because I've had enough of those things blow up on me. The groove tubes and rubies I don't like. I've had enough of each of those blow up on me that I'm not impressed. But JJ's seem to be pretty reliable, especially for the price. But that would be the first question that I would ask. Why do you need to replace the tubes? So, especially if it's a brand new amp. Frank 12 string asking the same riddle, hoping to get me to read it out loud, which I'm not going to. Anthony Granella says, "I've got $300. I like metal and blues rock. What guitar do I get?" $300. Metal and blues rock. I would probably gun for like a used, like an probably a used Epiphone Les Paul. You might even be able to find you could probably find a used Epiphone Les Paul standard in that price range, to be honest with you. So, and those things are all over the place on the market. If you're looking for one that you want to change pickups and stuff out in, and finding a modified one is not difficult at all. Finding one that's modified to what you would like to modify it to, different story. But finding them stock is not hard. Finding them, with a few mods in it is not hard. But finding one of those guitars for $300 is certainly not hard. Probably find one less than that, to be honest. Let's see. Zakk Wylde SGV is pretty awesome. That's a crazy guitar, man. They are kind of cool, but I just, the SG horns with the pointy, the pointy flying V back end of it. That was a bizarre looking guitar. That one was almost as bizarre as his coffin, the coffin guitar that Epiphone did for Zakk there for a while. I still thought it was cool just because of the Zakk Wylde signature portion of it, because I love Zakk Wylde, but the guitar itself, it was a little out there for me. Even me being a pointy guitar guy. Randall Vandergrift says, what do you think of Samick guitars and West Tone Electra guitars overall? As a few nice brands. Well, Samick guitars, somebody asked me this last week too. Samick are actually the largest guitar manufacturer in the world. That factory in Indonesia is huge. And not only do they make their own brand of guitars out of there, but they make a lot, and I mean a lot, of guitars for a lot of other companies. I think like some of the Ibanez guitars came out of there for a while. I think the Indonesian, some of the Indonesian Epiphones maybe. That one I'm not sure about, but there's a lot of well-known brands that that you don't realize are made by Samick are made by Samick. So, they've been in the game a long time. West Tone guitars are pretty cool, and the Electra guitars, I like both of those brands. The Electras are kind of hard to find. They were real big in like the 70s and early 80s. And they had some pretty crazy designs. I think they were the ones that had a couple of designs that had like onboard like effects modules that you popped in and out. Or at least some onboard effects of some kind on the guitar itself. It was pretty cool. Yeah, they're pretty well built guitars. At that time they weren't considered anything special. They were considered intermediate level at best at the time that they were out, I believe. But compare those to what is considered, an entry level and intermediate level guitar today, and we didn't realize how good we had it back then. Actually, I saw on Facebook the other day, just yesterday or the day before, that he was selling a used West Tone guitar. It was a made in Japan model, and he was only trying to get $200 for it. I probably would have bought it from him, but it's the same guy that made sure and referred to my, this is a guy that watched all my videos, and then all of a sudden I called him out on something that I didn't agree with, and he went ballistic, and all of a sudden all of a sudden it was my bullshit YouTube videos, and he got real pissed at me about that, and he hasn't spoken to me since. So that's who I saw that posted it, so, that's why I didn't generate too much interest. Ian Nunez is trying to get used to active pickups. I don't know. I really don't think there's a whole lot to get used to. Once they're installed, once they're in, they're in. They don't, they sound different. They sound different than passive pickups in most, in a lot of cases anyway. But it's just a different sound. That's all it is. So Sweetwater the very next day when I order sometimes depends when I order of that time of day. Well, that's because you're here in central Indiana like me, and Sweetwater is, in the northern part of central Indiana. They're only about an hour and a half from where I live. So that's a pretty short ship time. Christopher Bass says, I've gone through like 6 sets of tubes in my headphone amp, and none of them sound better or worse. Very slight difference that is probably imaginary. You're going to see some slight differences in output, and that's only because the bias is not set for the new set of tubes that you put in yet. If you set the bias correctly to whatever set of tubes are in there, it's going to sound more or less the same. And you're supposed to set the bias, by the way, to whatever set of tubes are in there. Because if you don't, I can cause some other problems, and in some cases, if it's too far off, can get dangerous. That's what that bias is there for, unless it's a fixed bias, like most Mesa amps are. If you're wanting, that was a pretty enlightening video that Glenn put up, and it did seem to kind of alert a lot of people to placebo effect. Zim's Guitars is here. Paul Adamek says, what's up? A Guitar Center's bankruptcy. The whole thing is blown out of proportion. All it is debt restructuring. Guitar Center's not going anywhere. They're not closing any stores, nothing like that. From what I understand, the question was raised, by the folks at corporate. Are we overpaying for, on our interest payment? And, apparently it was believed by the right people that they'd get a better deal on their interest. And in order to shop around, they had to go through the bankruptcy process to do that. I don't know how all that works. I'm not a corporate accountant I don't have any kind of expertise in all the logistics of that. But I mean, that's really all it is. It's just debt restructuring. No stores are closing. Nobody's going anywhere. None of that. So, don't pay any attention to it. Matter of fact, they're still hiring in a lot of locations. They're still hiring. Frank 12 String Soundcheck says, "Was just trying to be friendly. I'm sorry, I will leave." I didn't take it as being being not friendly. If you did leave already, I apologize. That wasn't my intention. But you post the same tongue twister in the chat 2 or 3 times in a row. I got to assume, with a question mark at the end of it, I got to assume you're just trying to get me to read it. Don B says, "Hi, Robert. Does it make a difference to buy matched sets of tubes? Does it make them easier to buy as servicing my 87 Jubilee? Power tubes, you have to buy them in matched sets. At least matched pairs. There's no such thing as matched preamp tubes. But with power tubes, you can buy them in singles. But if you've got you can typically buy power tubes in duets, quartets, or sextets, 2s, 4s, or 6s. So, depending on, if you got a Jubilee 100, that's obviously going to be a quad that you need. So you can buy them, tubes in a matched, power tubes in a matched quad. So, yeah, absolutely. And that's what you want to do because, those 4 tubes are going to be, power matched almost, those are going to be power matched almost, as closely as possible anyway. There's no such thing as 2 tubes that are exactly identically power matched, but they're going to be as matched as closely as possible at the factory, and that is absolutely what you want when you do go to retube your amp. So, yeah, if it's a 100-watt Jubilee, then you want a quad of I think those are EL34s or those KT66s. I can't remember what those power tubes are now, but if it's 100-watt, you'll need a quad. If it's a 50-watt, you'll need a pair. Any thoughts on Epiphone Prophecy guitars from Matt Perkins down in the super chat? Yeah, matter of fact, I didn't realize that they were bringing back the Prophecy series, but they, if you guys have looked at, if you guys have watched my my greatest, some of the videos I've done on great guitars that you might not know about. I know I've mentioned the Prophecies. I think I can't remember which video it was that I mentioned those in, but that was one line of Epiphone guitars that I always really, really liked. And they were extremely well made. They came with aftermarket electronics. And, number of things. The number of things about those guitars I really liked. Then they discontinued them some years back. And matter of fact, it was a buddy of mine, my friend Lee Canales, that told me about it the other night, that they were bringing them back. And, they're a little bit different. I guess these got Fishmans in them. The new ones do. But, yeah, they look cool. They look, I'm sure there's probably a few other features that are different on this run of them. I haven't got my hands on one yet, but I am certainly excited to. So, yeah, I will, that might be one that I may even spend my own money on to get to check out. Alrighty. Dave Escobar says, Robert, have you seen the new Epiphone Xtura Purple Flame Explorer? That's actually one of the new prophecies. They're doing the Xtura, which is that one I guess is a cross between they did the Futura in the original prophecies. So I guess this one is a cross between the Futura and the Explorer. So that one I haven't seen. I need to look that one up, but that's probably one I'm going to be. Probably the one that I would be the most interested in. So, Kobeoth says, Robert, is it a safe stereotype to say the EQ from classic rock to metal is progressively less bass and more high end? I don't know, man. I think God, that's such a broad question. Because when you're talking classic rock. What are we talking? Zeppelin? Or are we talking Sabbath? It's just the low end EQ on those, on those two bands. Sabbath Paranoid versus Zeppelin 2. Are two totally different stories. I actually, the new modern stuff. I mean, the bottom end is there, but it's so much tighter than it was back in the 70s and early 80s, and I think a lot of that has to do with I honestly in the mix I think it's more bass than anything else because we talk a lot about how guitar amps have progressed since those days, but talked a lot about that that technology's come a long way, but through so is bass amps. Bass amps used to be as many watts as you could pack into a box, that was, that a human being could lift. How easily they could lift it was another argument altogether. But pack a ton of power into one box, put 3, maybe 4 knobs on the front of it, and run it into a dual 15 cabinet, and off we go, right? So it's. And their bass amps obviously are not all, most of them that are out of the market today are not like that. So it's just, there's, and the other end of that is true too. The way that records are produced and the way the records are mixed and mastered. That stuff's all done on a computer these days. Back in the 70s, it was all done on a literally a digital multi-track tape recorder and a razor blade. So. There's been a lot of that stuff that has changed and come a long way. As far as, how it's progressed, I would say if anything has improved, it's the clarity. So, it is the clarity. I would love to hear, probably the true test of that would be, in the metal world anyway, the true test to that would be, something if Metallica went back into the studio and re-recorded Kill 'Em All with all modern recording techniques. So, and I mean if Metallica did it with their gear and their producers, not somebody else, re-recording an old Metallica record using that stuff, but them themselves. So that what I think would be the true tale of the tape. Honestly, I'm probably not the best guy to ask that question to either because I'm far from a actual studio guy. I've got some studio gear that I use to record short tracks with for demo videos, and I can get done what I need to get done, and even then, I know my mixes aren't always the best. So, it is what it is. Gargoyle84 says, I bought my Marshall from Guitar Center last summer. Not sure how much it was played on, but it sounds awesome. How long do tubes usually last? Thanks, again, love the channel. If you bought it from Guitar Center last summer, depends on how, not sure how, I guess, did you buy it new or used? If you bought it used, then I don't know, general rule of thumb, I mean, with like preamp, like power tubes, if you're playing a lot, like you're gigging every weekend, you got band practice once or twice a week, and that amp is running 2, 3, 4 hours at a time for each of those, for each of those things that you're doing with it, you could probably get, you can probably get a year and a half out of your power tubes, and probably 2 to 2.5 years out of your preamp tubes, depending on. So, it just depends on how much use it's getting. If it's, if you bought it a year ago and it's been sitting around your house, and especially if you bought it new a year ago and it's been sitting around, you haven't used it much, you're fine. You don't need to change tubes. Let's see. Joey Van Ostren's here. What's up, dude? Christopher Bass says the dick move to post a tongue twister for someone who sometimes stutters. I can argue with that. Thank you. Paul Adamick says, what kind of electronic spray do you use to get the dust out of your amps? Dust out of either canned air will do it a lot of times. Just a old fashioned, go to Staples or something and get sometimes you can buy them like the case, box of just pressured canned air will do it. Or if you don't have an air compressor, sometimes just compressed air will do it. And if that doesn't get it, then hit it with if you need a chemical or something to clean, like a contact cleaner, or to act as like a WD-40, then I would probably recommend Deoxit, which I know Guitar Center carry a few different varieties of that. But that's probably what I would use. I would if canned air doesn't do it first, just blowing out some dust, and if you're still getting like some crackly pots and stuff after that, then I would go canned air. I would go, get a can of Deoxit and see if the contacts don't need to be cleaned. My Knees Hurt says, Kill 'Em All's best album. Okay, nobody's a bigger Metallica fan than I do, and I love the music on Kill 'Em All as much as anybody else. When I saw Metallica live a year and a half ago, I was sitting right, just about front row, right up against the guardrail, and the third song that they played was Seek and Destroy, and I got as big a boner in that huge arena as anybody else did, because I love Seek and Destroy, and I love Motor Breath, and I love Metal Militia, and I love I love the Four Horsemen, and I love a lot of tracks on that album. But the production on that record is not my favorite Metallica record by far. So I guess that's part of what I'm talking about is I would really like to hear that record with more modern production techniques and modern recording gear, Apollo interfaces or whatever those uber high level top notch studios are using. I don't even know, they're probably using commercial grade stuff that I've never even heard of, but yeah, great record. I just wish the production on it was better. Christopher Bass says, I buy Deoxit from Amazon so they lose money on it. Who loses money on Deoxit? Amazon, or I don't know what that means, but Joey Van Ostrom says, I use my Husqvarna leaf blower on idle from a few feet away. for an old rolling practice amp. Worked well. I'm sure it did. I suppose that'll work. If you don't have an air compressor, you don't have any canned air, break out the Husky, dude. Shipping hazardous materials through UPS ground costs more than the $9 they charge for it. Well, the reason, I mean, they have to ship. I can tell you this from being in that industry. They have, chemicals like that, they have to ship ground legally. FAA won't allow you to ship any kind of liquids via expedited. Has to be on a truck. I guess the idea being, if they're going to catch fire and explode, they would rather that explosion happen on the ground instead of 30,000 feet in the air. Whatever, which I guess makes sense because a lot more people could stand to get hurt that way. And yeah. My knees hurt as I saw Metallica on the Black Album. I stopped listening to them after the 80s. Love the 80s albums. The Black Album actually came out in 91. So if you saw them on the Black Album tour, you at least saw them in 91. So... But regardless, this is actually the second time today I've had this conversation. There's a lot of people in that, that after, a lot of people were even as early as the Black Album, but certainly after the Black Album when they came out, Load and Reload, a lot of people, a lot of fans gave up on them, quit listening to them after that. But I'm one of the diehard fans of, I love just about everything they put out. I even like a few tracks on Saint Anger, so. I'm just a fan. I just love everything. I just love just about everything that they do. So, he says that's exactly why I love it. The shit production reminds me of the tape trading days. Shitty sounding but great songs due to songs falling apart, due to copy takes me back. Yep, that is true too. But that always drove me crazy though, man. When I'd get a third generation dub, of a tape, and all of a sudden, it sounded like complete shit because of it was it wasn't a direct recording, Frank 12 string sound check Ciara says unsubscribe. Didn't know you were a dick until today. I don't know what I did to be a dick, but okay, dude. Best of luck to you. Which one were you? Because my subscriber, it looks like I've gained 2 subscribers since I started this live stream. Kobe says Glenn over at SK. I don't know what SK is. Has a video about good albums that are mixed badly. So does Fluff, if I'm not mistaken. Very possible. If you're talking about Glenn Fricker, he knows the production side pretty well. Actually, as does Fluff. Both those guys are very pretty well skilled engineers, and are both very, very good at, far better at recording and far knowledgeable about recording than I am. So. Bay Guru says, "Are PV guitars good?" Yeah, absolutely. Again, depending on the model. I mean, they've put out their clunkers over the years, just like everybody else. But like the late '70s, early '80s T series guitars are still, they're not necessarily worth a ton of money, but those are still really, really popular on the vintage market today. And you can find them pretty easily, and they're, they still sell for what, $300, $400, $500, $600, depending on the model and the condition. And they're pretty well made. I like to make fun of them because they kind of look like boat paddles to me, but but they're actually really good guitars. You know, a little bit later on, you know, in their history, they came out with the Adrian Vandenberg signature, which is a kick-ass guitar. You know, they did a lot of stuff like that. You know, they had a few big name artist endorsers back in the 70s. Um, so, or back in the 80s rather. You know, so they put out some really good guitars, and oh, by the way, they were also they didn't come up with the original design, but they were the first company to carry the Eddie Van Halen Wolfgang signature model, and that guitar was still made for a little while after Eddie left Van Halen, known as the HP2, I believe, and they discontinued it, and they're just now beginning to bring it back. So, and some of those are made in the U.S., some are made in Japan, just depending on which one it was. And I think now the new versions are going to be made in France. And I also understand they're going to be selling for about $2,500 or so, which is more than I thought they'd sell for. But you know, the old PV Wolfgangs, and again, that's what they are. The old PV Wolfgangs are really good guitars. See, Thunder Falcon is here. What's up, dude? It says, is it just me or is audio volume low? Well, it's on my meter right here. It's just short of clipping, so you know I can't really I don't have too much room to turn it up. It's been loud enough. I've already lost one subscriber today, so. It was at least loud enough to piss that dude off. Okay, well, several of you are saying it's hard to hear. All right, well, I'll try moving the mic closer and see if that's any better. I thought I had it, you know, I was afraid if I put it too close, it would start feeding back and stuff. Hayden Hartley says, have you seen the reverse Stratocaster? No, I didn't know there was any such thing as a reverse Strat. Oh boy, I hope that's just I hope they're just doing a left-handed Strat strung up for a right-handed player or something like that. I hope they're not flipping the body around the other, you know, horizontally, if you will, because that's going to look really, really stupid. You'd think they would have learned their lesson from Gibson. Christopher Bass says, I found many badly produced albums are not nearly as bad when you use pro or audiophile equipment. Stop using MP3s. Joey says, damn it, I'm sure threatening to unsubscribe is the death knell of his channel. Oh, people unsubscribe from my channel all the time. There's even days that I finish with negative subscribers, believe it or not. You know, that happens once every month or two. So sometimes people just get a little sensitive and they get pissed off and unsubscribe, and sometimes they come back and sometimes they don't. And other times people just decide that they're tired of my, or bored with my content and no longer interested in watching any more of it, and that's okay too. And yeah, who knows? People subscribe and unsubscribe for all kinds of reasons. And sometimes it's even because I'm a dick. Baker says, I have the Rotary XP by PV. It was discontinued in the mid 2000s. I found it for $500 in a pawn shop. I remember the first run of those guitars. I thought were actually really cool. They cheaped them out later on in the run. And they I think originally when those things originally came out, they had EMGs in them and were true neck through. And then like I said, they cheaped them out later on and they started putting some weird cheap proprietary pickups in them and changed a few things to the construction. They just they just felt cheaper. I think they were trying to target a little bit younger audience with that second design. Because the first design was a great design, but it's only going to go so far. So they were trying to they were just trying some different things, and that's the hard part about being a gear manufacturer, man. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes there's you think you got a great idea and a great design, and and it takes off, and sometimes you invest a lot of money into something like that and it doesn't. If it were easy though, everybody'd be doing it. Hang on one second. Thirsty. I only buy $10 headphones from Dollar Tree. I'm too abusive and nonchalant about them. Spend more than $10 a pair. It depends on what it is. I've got a cheap pair of wireless Bluetooth headphones. And that's my, those are, and they actually do, for just listening to music, they're perfect for that. And they got a real long battery life in them, and they're comfortable and isolate pretty well. That's the pair that that I listen to when I'm cutting the grass or doing yard work, or sometimes when I go to the grocery store, I like to put on headphones and walk around and listen to what a podcast or something. If I travel, those are the ones that I take with me. And they're, like I said, they're great for that. I think I paid like $40, $30 or $40 or something like that on Amazon, some off brand. Like I said, they work great. I've also got a pair of JBL I can't remember what the model number of those is. E55 BTs or something. One of the JBL models, and they're okay. I bought those to replace my pair of Bose. My Bose wireless headphones, which I loved. But one of those things, because I use them every night. And unfortunately, with the Bose headphones, one of the ears went out, and they were out of warranty when that happened, so Bose wouldn't fix them. But they did offer me a discount to buy a new pair, which, I didn't want a discount to buy a new, the discount to buy a new pair of those, because those are pricey, was still a lot more than I was able to get these JBLs for. So I bought the JBLs just as a, replacement. That was over a year ago now. So, but those are, they get the job done. Eventually I'll wear those out, and then, hopefully, maybe by that time I'll be a little bit more willing to spend the big money on another nice pair of Bose headphones. So, but for general pleasure listening, that's what I use. For studio work, then I like my Beyerdynamic DT990s. I like these quite a bit. These are great. I've had those for a couple years now. And I just got these. This is a pair of blue MixFi headphones, and they sound great. Those are closed back. They sound great, and they've got a few different active and passive modes on them, and which is which is really, really convenient. But and they're they're loud as hell. They're absolutely loud as hell, but they're heavy, and when they're on tight. So that's probably been the thing that I've had the hardest time getting used to, is how tight those things sit on my head. Paul Fuchs says, "Why am I Telecaster crazy? Cuckoo for Tellies, GNL ASATs, Schecter PTs also." Nothing wrong with that, man. If that's if that's the body style, the style of guitar that you like, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Kobe Gal says, "Always like the Steve Cropper PV Cropper Classic." Man, I haven't seen one of those in a long time. I forgot all about those guitars. I don't know why I'm so thirsty. Let me get caught up in the chat here. Joey Van Ostrom says, "Fortunately, I've never pissed off anyone here." I think we both know that's not true, but okay. Gibson coming out with the no political talk on this channel. Period. I'll boot you. I don't care how loyal you are. I don't want any talk about politics on this channel at all from anybody. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I don't care how long you've been a subscriber to this channel. End it now. I got my dad's first electric guitar a few months back, 335 copy thing. He's not a rock guy at all, but was loving it. Yeah, that's kind of one of the cool things about the the 335 semi hollow body design. I mean, they're not just meant for rock players. Gibson really, Gibson came out with that guitar to bridge the gap between the rock players that were playing the Les Pauls and the SGs and stuff. And well, the SG wasn't out yet, but the Les Pauls and stuff. To bridge the gap between the Les Paul players and the the jazz box players that were playing the 175s and stuff. That was really the main inspiration behind the 335. And if you don't know what that number stands for, the ES, of course, the ES in that model number stands for Electric Spanish, and the 335 is how much that guitar sold for brand new when it came out, which I think it was in 1958. So, just a little vintage fun fact there for you if you didn't know that. But that was always the cool thing about that guitar, is it was always the best of both worlds. You got rock guys playing those, you got jazz guys playing those, you got blues guys playing those. Yeah, they were designed for versatility. Not going to find too many metal players playing them. They're too loose for that, but plenty of people and plenty of other genres. Check out Sammy G's video on the reverse Strat. I don't know who Sammy G is. I'm out of touch, man. I'm old. I'm lucky I know the 10 or 12 different other YouTube channels I know that aren't mine. I made a red ale today in chili. I got up and helped my buddy get his boat out of the water, and then we went to there's a restaurant, but at the marina there, they've got a restaurant or a few marinas at the lakes around town here called Wolfie's, and that place has got some good food. So we enjoyed lunch at Wolfie's. Christopher Bass says, I think the buyers distort before they get loud enough. They only have 200 milliamps of power handling compared to Sony 7506's 1,000 milliamps. And that may be true, but I don't need to crank them. I need them loud enough to hear them, and maybe a little more than that. But if I'm in a situation where I've got those headphones on anyway, I'm usually in a situation where I got to keep it down because the door to our bedroom is literally right behind me. And, if the missus is in there sleeping, I'm not doing anything with the monitors on. I've got the headphones on. So, in which case everything else is quiet. I just don't need to be that. I just don't need them that loud. So, so they work for me. Beer. What you guys talking about? If anyone get a Gibson Adam Jones, if you have not heard yet, if you have not heard yet, there was a pallet of 13 of those Gibson Adam Jones guitars that they were making a stop in, I don't even remember. I can't remember what city they were in, but they were on their way. They were being delivered to Sweetwater in Fort Wayne, and they got hijacked and they got stolen. So if you see one of those Gibson Adam Jones Les Paul Customs for sale, on the used market sometime, Sweetwater and Gibson posted the serial numbers. Sweetwater, they posted the serial numbers of those guitars. So if you see one for sale, get the serial number first to make sure it's not one of the stolen ones. So, especially if it's a deal that looks too good to be true, because those things are expensive. Baker says, I have 2 Explorer-shaped guitars looking for a V-shape. There's plenty to choose from. Be careful with a V-shaped guitar, though, man. They are not fun to sit down and play with. They are really, really uncomfortable to sit down and play with. Lots of people do it, and lots of people figured it out and gotten used to it, but I was never able to. I've kind of got a love-hate relationship with V-shaped guitars. They're great for stage. I don't like them, for any kind of, legitimate practice or sit down playing studio recording kind of stuff. They're not for me at all. Oh, Sammy G, a samurai guitarist. Okay. I didn't know he had a video on the reverse flying V. I know he loves, or on the reverse Strat. I know he loves his reverse flying V, though. He is not shy about admitting that. That dude loves that guitar. I've got two Gibson Explorers I love. Really love the 2001. I like that one better than the 2016. Really love my 2001 Explorer. I like the 2016 Explorer and the 10S Blaze EXP that I demoed here on my channel just a couple of months ago. That's also sitting right behind me. It's a pretty good guitar. I like those a lot. GoopTuber says $100,000 worth of guitars. I think it was actually like $95,000, but even still, there was 13 of them. $95,000 worth of guitars, split up into 13 guitars. Yeah. If I can type. $7,300 a piece for those guitars. So if you happen to see an Adam Jones a $7,000 Adam Jones Les Paul for sale for a really, really, really good price, double check the serial number. Christopher Bass says, unless someone has buyers lined up in China willing to pay double, there's no way to fence those things. I don't know. I mean, you could sell them out of the country. You can sell them overseas. I'm sure you could probably move them to South America if you can get them out of the country. Okay, which I wouldn't think would be that big of an issue. And the other thing is to sit on them long enough until the actual new inventory starts hitting the used market, which may or may not happen. Then you can start moving them. But I mean, there's criminals and thieves are crafty people, man. They're very crafty. There was 13 guitars, 13 Gibson Custom Shop Adam Jones signature Les Paul Customs, Silverburst Les Paul Customs. Alan Pape says the reverse Strat does exist. It uses a left-hand body, right-hand neck, but built to play right-handed. Trogley's channel has reviewed one. It's not. Are we talking about the Jimi Hendrix Strat? That sounds like the Jimi Hendrix Strat. Is what that is. It's exactly what that is. It's a left-handed. Because his was a right-handed guitar strung upside down. That's what Jimi played. So when reissuing a signature Jimi Hendrix model, Fender's always done a left-handed guitar, not necessarily strung upside down, but left-handed guitar body, and depending on the era, left or right-handed neck. Thunder Falcon says, I never play sitting down. Am I a freak? Yeah, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Plenty of people rarely play sitting down. I rarely play standing up anymore. So Baker says, what's the name of the Gibson Explorer that James Hetfield uses? Well, his actual Gibson is an actual Explorer. The very first one of those that he used back in the early 80s, though, I believe was a Greco Explorer copy with a bolt-on neck. And, but he migrated to the actual Gibsons there in, the early 80s, like around the Ride the Lightning album cycle. And, he's used all kinds of stuff, especially Gibson stuff in the studio over the years, but primarily Gibson Explorers. His signature ESP is called the Snakebite, probably the one you're thinking of. The signature ESP, like pointy-looking Explorer thing that he used in the 90s. That was the EXP, I think, is what they called that model, which is still made on some level, maybe. I don't know how ESP ever got sued for that, but let's see. Joseph White is here. What's up, dude? Alan Pape says it's not a Hendrix Strat, so it is a legit reverse Strat. Interesting. Christopher Bass says, that's what I don't get about the $6,000 Strat. I could order one with anything I want. Why am I buying a project the Custom Shop wanted to do? Well, that's, one thing I will tell you about those Fender Custom Shop guys. Those are some of the most skilled guitar players or guitar builders in the world. And I mean, I think they just recently, in the last year or so, used in the last year or two, they actually fired John Cruz, who was one of their oldest guitar builders. That kind of shocked the world. But there's a lot. Some of those guys that have been there for decades. The value of those Custom Shop guitars goes up if their signatures, if their name is on it. They're the one that built it. So, and the other thing is just because it's Fender. There's a large contingent, and I mean large contingent of guitar players out there that will buy anything if it says Fender on it. And I'm not even talking about guitars. I'm talking about, I'm not talking about just guitars. I'm talking about shot glasses and T-shirts and keychains and coffee mugs and ball caps and cutting boards and anything like that. Just because it says Fender on it. So diehard Fender players love Fender. I don't think they're quite as obnoxious as PRS players. In that regard, when it comes to branding, but but they will buy anything just if it has the Fender logo on it. Joel Eakin says Hetfield used an 84 Explorer. There was never a copy Explorer in the early days. It was an Aria Flying V copy. Okay, so which is it? There was never a copy Explorer in the early days, but it was an Aria Flying V copy with the bolt-on neck that was the copy. Which is it? There was no copy, or there was an Aria, But if it was the Aria, then I was, I got the brand wrong, but I was right. It was a Gibson Explorer-esque. It was a Gibson Explorer-shaped body from a Japanese company with a bolt-on neck. Matthew Perkins says you forgot the Fender baseball bat. There you go. Matthew Perkins was kind enough to drop that down in the super chat for us. But there's quite a few things I'm sure I forgot. I mean, I would love to. We're getting into the time of year when you start seeing the big guitar companies' names, the Fenders and the Gibsons, when you start seeing that shit on everything, and I mean everything, not a guitar. So okay. That's where I was confused. Joel Eakin says Hetfield didn't have a copy Explorer, he had a copy V. It was a Flying V. So that's what it was. Big Guru says I don't really like Fender because they're too smooth looking, not sharp enough. Yeah, I used to feel the same way, but as I've gotten older, I'm kind of starting out, to a degree, to a slight degree, I'm starting. I kind of have a little bit more appreciation for the classic shapes more than I used to. Like I said, I find myself playing super strats. My Schecters, my Music Man, stuff like that. I find myself playing those guitars a lot more often. Those style guitars a lot more often than I used to. So, a lot of it's just because I'm sitting down recording most of the time, and it's those are just easiest to grab, most comfortable to sit down and play with. Pardon me. In a lot of cases. But, at the end of the day, I'm really still not a Fender guy. So, I like Fenders. I like Fenders as well as anybody else. Nothing wrong with Fenders. But I've just always preferred other brands, I guess. So, other styles. Ryan13 is here. Says, yo, Robert, late to the party, but I'm here. Welcome to you, dude. What's up? Alan Pape says, I thought Fender used the baseball bats to make the necks. Oh, no. We're back as a troll. And now he's gone. David Brockett says, have you ever played anything Pure Salem? I don't know what that is, so I'm going to say no. I don't know if that's a guitar brand or guitar builder or what, but that's a new one to me. That is a assuming that it's a brand. Well, I guess regardless of what it is, I'm not familiar with it, but especially if it's a guitar brand. So no, I do not have any experience with them. Thunder Falcon says, I'm sitting on a Fender bar stool watching this show. Fender rules, kind of. Yep, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. The Fender bar stools actually last forever, man. Those things can take a freaking beating. We had a few of them at the store, and we were always replacing the proprietary branded ones, man. But those Fender ones just kept on kicking. Damn things couldn't get beat up. I mean, they got beat up, but they could handle it. Kobe Gal says, Robert, can we get another top 10 bad Christmas gift ideas for guitars? Top 10 bad gift ideas for guitars video this Christmas season. I don't know, man. You got to wait. You're gonna be patient, wait and see. I'm not. We're not at the holiday season yet. Getting there, but not quite. Bearded Clam says, "What's your favorite pointy guitar like ESP Jackson, BC Rich, etc.?" If you're talking brand, BC Rich, no question. I'm a big BC Rich guy. As far as what my favorite body shape would be, favorite BC Rich body shape, so actually surprisingly, my favorite BC Rich body shape is one that I don't own. I've always wanted a Beast. I've always wanted a BC Rich Beast, and I want one of the NJ neck through ones, and they're impossible to find. And when they do pop up, it's usually some yahoo that thinks he's got a pot of gold and wanting way too much money for it. So I've never been able to find one. The speed loaders are out there all over the place, but those are, and you can get those cheap, but you can't find any strings for them. The other bolt-on neck ones are out there, but they come with cheap shit pickups on them that I don't want anything to do with. So I've always wanted one of the neck through Beasts. I love the Beast body shape, the full size Beast, not the Son of Beast, but the full size Beast. I've always loved that shape. Outside of that one though, I've always loved the Warlock. It's just a classic, insane body shape. I love the Warlock. I love the Mockingbird. The Zombie is cool. The Zombie's really cool. The Eagle's cool. And the Widow, which is another one that's hard to find. A lot of people really seem to like the Ironbirds. Ironbirds are cool, but they were never my favorite. So then what's the other popular one? The Stealth. The Stealth is cool too, but I always like the Jackson and Ibanez versions of that body style better. So anyways, as far as brand, definitely BC Rich. As far as shape, those that I just mentioned. As far as pointy shape outside of BC Rich, definitely the Explorer shape. Joseph White says, Schecter T-Style Super Shredders definitely is a great axe. Played one yesterday. The Super, the Schecter Super Shredders are excellent guitars. That's another one that's kind of on my guitars to buy list, that I'd really like to have. Is one of the Schecter Super Shredders, particularly one of the ones with the Sustainiac in the neck. I don't have a guitar with a Sustainiac, so that would be cool to have. GoopTuber says that Chapman Strat you have is super cool. I like it quite a bit, actually. You know, as a matter of fact, I'm real glad I bought that over a Fender. You know, the Fender equivalent I think was probably would have been, you know, definitely would have cost more money, and you know would have been, you know, definitely. I like the Chapman because they just got some. Yeah, it's just a more modern design. Pardon me. More modern take on a, you know, obviously a classic, what's obviously a classic design. So, you know, and I like modern stuff. So yeah, that was a good purchase. That was a good choice for me. DJ Calvi says, I, Robert, traded my ESP Clips 2 for a Gibson Les Paul 2013 T model. Les Paul T model. Is that the thin Les Paul? With locking tuner, push-pull knobs, Grenadillo fretboard. Very special model. I'm glad my first Gibson will swap the 57s for dirty fingers. Cool, man. Congratulations. Ryan13 says, are you going to stock up on the new Amazon Basics pedals? Everybody else seems to be doing it. I mean, I might as well. Oh man, yeah. I don't know what all the hoopla is about those. I don't know, man. I mean, a bunch of $25, $30 pedals that, you know, I mean, I buy them and I'm going to use them once. I'm going to use them once to make a video with. I mean, really, the only reason I would be doing that was just to say that I did, and that's it. You know, I would use them once just to, you know, make a video just to say that I made a video. And that would probably be the last time I used any of them. So, Christopher Bass says, that's surprising that the Roadrunner chair sucks, but the ones with the real brand are good. I'm not talking about the Roadrunners. Roadrunners were okay, but, you know, I'm talking about the really, really cheap, like the Musician's Gear, you know, those stools, and, you know, the drum thrones like that. Those are the ones that wore out quick. You know, the Roadrunner stuff is actually really, really good product. Biggers, as I'd say, my three dream guitars are the 84 Explorer, the Jackson Flying V, and the Gibson Flying V. My three would be the... If I didn't own the Majesty, it would be on that list, but I already have that one. So my three that I don't own are probably going to be, you know, Gibson Les Paul Custom. Ooh. Gibson Les Paul Custom, vintage USA BC Rich, neck through, something from, you know, probably from the 80s. I'd really like to have a neck through Warlock from the 80s, USA neck through Warlock, but I think, you know, CC DeVille and Lita Ford have hoarded all of those, so unfortunately I'm going to have to wait for one of them to die. And even then, maybe, you know, even then when they hit the used market, they're going to be worth $1 zillion because of their name, and I'm never going to be able to afford it anyway. Bastards. I'm just kidding. I'm actually a huge fan of both of those people, but and I don't even know if that's true. That's just rumors I've heard over the years that they've hoarded all of those guitars. But regardless, I would really like to have an 80s neck through USA BC Rich, be it a Warlock or a Mockingbird or an Ironbird or, you know, whatever it is. So, but they're hard to find. And for a third one, whew, man, I don't know. I really don't know about a third one. I mean, it was the Music Man Majesty for so long, and now I've got that one. So, not sure. Kobe Ellis says, BC Rich Eagle, if only I could find a 22 fret model of one. Got to be my favorite BC Rich body style. 22 fret anything is tough to find in BC Rich. Most BC Rich guitars are 24 fret. So, and that's just what, I mean, let's face it, most of their customers are metal players. And, most metal players prefer 24 frets. So, I'll never forget, when Ibanez came out with that 27 fret Xiphos, I remember thinking to myself, well, 27 frets, that's cool, but I remember asking a buddy of mine, what do you need 27? What can you do with 27 frets? And a buddy of mine looks at me and says, nothing Dimebag couldn't do with 22. Wow, a lot of trolls today. I am just going to keep that one from ever hitting the chat feed. Spare you guys the lunacy. My knees hurt says, I have a few Azor pedals, $20 or so, that work great for me. You guys know I have no problem with cheap pedals whatsoever. I am not anti-cheap pedal at all. I own several. I own plenty. But, I mean, with this, one, I don't need a whole line of them. And number two, I've already got so many. I mean, what am I going to do with them? I mean, am I really going to like the Amazon Basics Tube Screamer better than any of the other Tube Screamer circuits that I've got laying around here? Is that thing going to beat out my Direwolf? No. So, that thing's not going to beat out my Direwolf. The Boost is not going to beat out my my Spark Boost, or my Class A Boost. Who knows? It ain't happening. So, time out. Be right back. The missus is calling. Hey, babe. What's the matter? Stuck where? Okay, all right, I'll go right now. Okay, I'll go right now. Okay, okay, babe. I'll take care of her. All right, I'll take care of her. You're welcome. I love you. Oh. All right, sorry about that, guys. Unfortunately, I got to run. I've got an emergency I got to go take care of, so I've got to cut this short. If I didn't get to your questions, stick it in your back pocket, and we'll throw it in the chat again next week. We'll get to it then. Don't forget to check out the